In the last couple of lectures, we talked about SOCL and SOCL. We learned to query for records in one or more objects. In this lecture, we'll talk about inserting and updating records using DML and learn about exception handling. Apex is tightly integrated with the Force.com platform persistence layer. Records in the database can be inserted and manipulated through Apex directly using simple statements. The language in Apex that allows you to add and manage records in the database is the data manipulation language, DML in short. This is an example of how you can create a new specific account as object and assign it to a variable. The account referenced by the variable A exists in memory with the required name field. However, it is not written to the database yet. Using this DML statement, insert A will persist the record in the database. If you can recollect the lecture about SObjects, we created and inserted a new book record into the database using DML. We talked only about insert so far. Since we now know how to use SOCL, we can also use DML to modify records that have already been inserted. Using DML, we can insert, update, upsert, merge, delete, and even restore deleted records. DML operations execute within a transaction. All DML operations in a transaction either complete successfully, or if an error occurs in one of the operations, the entire transaction is rolled back and no data is committed to the database. We played with the insert DML statement in the past when we talked about SObjects. Let's try to create an account record and insert that into the database. Account A equals new account, name equals example inc, insert A. By running this code, we are creating a new account called example inc. Now, let's try to update an existing account record. I'll start by querying for an account record we just inserted. Account A equals select name, industry, from account where name equals example inc and limit 1. I'm trying to pull just one record, hence the limit 1. Before I update this record, let's write the old values of account name and account industry to the debug log. System.debug, account name before update, plus a.name, system.debug, account industry before update, plus a.industry. Now let's try to update the account name to ABC Inc. and the account industry to technology. A.name equals ABC Inc. A.industry equals technology. These changes are in memory. We can write them to the database by using an update DML statement. Let us also verify that the changes are actually made in the database. We can do that by first querying the database for the account record whose name equals ABC Inc. And we are trying to verify if the name of the account is updated to ABC Inc. and the industry field is updated to technology. Using a system.assert statement, we can check if the expected value is same as the actual value. If they are not, a fatal error is returned that causes the execution to halt. System.assert equals ABC Inc., a.name. By writing the statement, we are trying to check if ABC Inc., the literal value equals the account name queried from the database. A1.name is the dot notation to pull out the name field in the account record. Let's do the same with industry and execute the code. Since we have no fatal error, we know that the account name is updated to ABC Inc. and industry to technology. When we execute DML statements, they return runtime exceptions if something went wrong. We can handle the exceptions in our code by wrapping the DML statements within a try-catch block. The syntax of a try-catch block looks like this. When you try to do something like creating, updating, deleting a record, if there is a DML exception, we can capture it and write that to the debug log. If need be, we can also have some cleanup code in the finally section. To see it in action, let's execute some code that causes DML exception. Let's try to create a new account with the name Acme. Account A equals new account, name equals Acme. I can try to insert the record. During insert, if there's any exception, the exception is captured and we can print out the exception message to our log. The following exception has occurred, and this is the message which can be captured using the getMessage method. We can execute this. Since there was no exception, nothing was captured. However, if we try to create a new account without the name, I know for sure that it would cause an exception because name is a required field in the account object. Let's try to insert the account without the name. If you look at the debug log, we can see the exception insert failed because of a required missing field. Using DML, we try to insert new records and commit them to the database. Similarly, we can also update the field values of existing records. In this example, I'll show you how to insert 3 account records and later update an existing account record. Let me first create an empty list of accounts. Account, accounts equals new list of account. I would like to create 3 accounts called Acme 0, Acme 1 and Acme 2, where billing city is San Francisco. Let's use a for loop here. For integer I equals 0, I less than 3, I plus plus. Account A equals new account, name equals Acme plus I, billing city equals San Francisco. Every time this loop runs, we are creating a new account suffixed by the value of I. Every time this loop runs, let's add this account to the empty list of accounts we created earlier. Accounts.addA. After this loop runs, the account list will no longer be empty, it will have 3 records. We learned that in case something goes wrong during the execution of the DML, we can handle them using a try-catch block. Let's use a try-catch block for the update operation. Let me write down the syntax. First, let's try to insert accounts into the database using DML statement, insert accounts. We have created 3 accounts, Acme 0, Acme 1 and Acme 2. I'm interested in updating the account Acme 2. Let's update the billing city of Acme 2 to New York. We need to first query the account we want to update from the database. Using SOCL, we can query the account to update equals select billing city from account where name equals Acme 2 and billing city equals San Francisco, limit 1. Here, account is the S object and we are querying for the account called Acme 2. We can update the billing city of this queried account to New York and write that to the database using a DML operation. If there's a DML exception, let's write a statement so that it can be captured in the debug log. Also, let's verify if the billing city was updated to New York. To do that, we can query the account that was just updated. Account after update equals select billing city from account where ID equals account to update dot ID. And using a system.assert equals, we can check if the billing city was updated to New York. This statement asserts that the first two arguments are the same. If they are not, a fatal error is returned that causes the code execution to halt. We are expecting the billing city of the updated account to be New York, and the actual value of the billing city can be pulled from this account using the dot notation. After update, dot billing city. Let's execute the code. Looks like there are no errors. That means the billing city was updated to New York. Okay, we wrote a statement, system.assert, but what happens if the values were not equal? Let me change this to New York 1 and let's try to execute the code once again. An exception is shown, so if there is an error, the message is shown and the execution will halt. In summary, we learned to add and retrieve data. There are a couple of DML operations that can be performed, like insert, update, upsert, merge, delete, and restore records. DML operations execute within a transaction. All DML operations in a transaction either complete successfully, or if an error occurs in one operation, then the entire transaction is rolled back and no data is committed to the database. We learned about exception handling using try-catch blocks. They are quite helpful in logging the error messages to the debug log. We learned to insert and update records, and we also use for loop and sockle to achieve that. In the next lecture, we'll talk about inserting related records, upserting, merging, and also deleting records.